Tromaville, and welcome to the very first episode of Talkin Troma with your host, me, Zack Beins. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into a different Troma movie every episode and learn a little bit more about it, and then pair it with a non-Troma movie for a fantasy double feature. I'll bring someone on with me to talk about the movies, friends, filmmakers, podcasters, and pretty much anybody who I think would add something to the Troma discussion. One of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is I want to share my love of Troma movies with everyone. I don't feel like they always get the love they deserve. They get shit on sometimes, and I don't like that, and I want to share my love with you guys. Perhaps, at this point in the podcast, you're wondering, well, what the hell is Troma anyways? I could describe it for you, but Troma actually put together a nice little infomercial that could do a better job than I could. So let's listen.
Founded by Yale classmates Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz in 1974, legendary Troma Entertainment still holds its reign as the independent studio.
Troma is arguably the oldest independent studio in America and the only independent studio with brand name appeal. Troma also owns a library of nearly 1,000 titles consisting of movies, TV shows, shorts, and internet content. Along with its founders Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz, Troma is responsible for the world's most visionary independent film. And coming soon, Troma presents Shakespeare's Shitstorm. Troma is also known for the world's most beloved and unique cinema icon, the Toxic Avenger. Thanks to having built a loyal and rabid fan base for the last 45 years, Troma's DVDs have become major cult favorites. Troma movies are not only in very select movie theaters on DVD and Blu-ray, now you can stream Troma movies on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and their very own streaming service, Troma Now. In addition to Troma's signature evergreen films like Poltergeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, Sergeant Kabuki Band, NYPD, Cannibal the Musical, Tromeo and Juliet, Class of Nukem High, and of course, The Toxic Avenger. Troma Entertainment offers a vast array of films for all ages, from children to senior citizens.
The visionary artistry of Troma has influenced many high-profile mainstream Hollywood directors over the years, including Peter Jackson, Sam Raimi, Quentin Tarantino, Trey Parker, James Gunn, and Eli Roth. Films from the Troma library have also helped launch the careers of superstars like Vincent D'Onofrio, Marissa Tomei, Kevin Costner, Samuel L. Jackson, Carmen Electra, Trey Parker, and Jenna Fisher.
Troma has been recognized all over the world with awards and retrospectives such as Cinématique France, Japan's Tokyo Film Festival, the Venice Film Festival, and the American Film Institute. President of Troma Entertainment, Lloyd Kaufman, has even been elected chairman of the Independent Film and Television Alliance for 4 years, fighting the way for independent filmmakers to have equal footing with the major studio conglomerates. Join the Troma team as it explodes into the future. The risk-taking pioneering studio with brand name appeal, Troma Entertainment.
Well, wasn't that fantastic? I learned so much about Troma films. Welcome back. And I wanted to tell you my history with Troma, but I couldn't do it without my first guest. My filmmaking partner, my best friend for over 20 years, Mr. Richard Taylor. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Zach, what's up, man?
Not too much. Thank you for coming on the show, Richard. So, I brought you on because, we've known each other forever. And when I got into Troma, I got you into Troma. And basically, our lives changed forever because of it.
I'd say so.
Do you remember how we got into Troma? If you don't, I can refresh your memory.
Yeah, because you seem to remember everything I don't. So it's like, if you remember, you'll remember something I don't, and I'll remember something you don't. However, I think it was the movie Terror Firmer.
No, you're wrong. It's actually before that. So
really, it wasn't Terror Firmer?
No, back in middle school, you were like the only person I knew who was watching South Park. Like, I don't think anybody was allowed to watch South Park. So we had art class together, and you would record VHS tapes. And we're from Colorado, so Trey Parker and Matt Stone in Colorado are gods. And I had another friend who he found a copy of their first movie at a video store called Cannibal the Musical, and he asked if I wanted to see that movie. And I said yeah, and then he said, "I'll make you a copy. Do you want me to keep all the movie trailers on before that? They're from this weird company called Troma. They have a lot of boobs and blood. I think you might like them." So I was like, yeah, why the hell not? I did not know that would change my life. So he gave me this bootleg copy of Cannibal the Musical, and me and Richard watched it together, and that movie was amazing.
Okay, I remember now. That's funny. Yeah, I think a lot of people's gateway to Troma is Cannibal the Musical.
Right?
Am I fair to say that?
I would think so. Like, if they're our age, then definitely Cannibal the Musical. Maybe a little
And
bit.
especially in Colorado, because yeah, like you said, South Park is very big here, and we even went to film school with a few people who had worked on Cannibal the Musical, and we always would nerd out and be like, oh my god, you worked on Cannibal the Musical? And then we would go to CU Boulder all the time and like
Find the location.
Find the locations where they filmed the movie, and we're like, oh my god, Trey Parker and Matt Stone were actually sitting here and standing here, and they made the movie here, and like we would completely nerd out. We wouldn't even care that, we were having a college tour guide of the campus, and we didn't care about actually going to the school.
Remember we saw Stan Brakhage walking around. And Stan Brakhage, for those who don't know, is an experimental filmmaker and like very high respected in the art film community. But we were nerding out because there's Stan Brakhage. He has a cameo in Cannibal the Musical. We're like, oh my god, he was their teacher, so we thought that was cool.
And we saw him, and that was pretty nerdy,
right? So we loved Cannibal the Musical, but something that always grabbed me was the trailers before the movie. There was Toxic Avenger and Tromeo and Juliet, and we were like, what the hell are these movies? Like, you see monsters and boobs and like this crazy gore. Motorhead is playing. So it's like, I need to see some of these movies. And my friend who made me that bootleg lent me a few copies of, he had like the Toxic Avenger and I think Class of Nukem High. And me and Richard used to watch horror movies together all the time. So these were right up our alley. And like, do you remember the first time watching Toxic Avenger?
Yeah, I guess I do remember like being a little shocked, I guess, with the head crushing scene and like the happy music is playing, and then these guys are just running down kids with their car, and like we're fresh out of middle school going into high school, so I guess that was a little shocking for our brains to register at that point.
Right? Yeah, we were like taking drama class together, and we're like, we're gonna be famous actors. Me and Richard Taylor are going to be famous actors. But before the Toxic Avenger, the director, Lloyd Kaufman, came on. And he was showing us how easy it is to make a movie. And he would show us, like after the VHS tape was over, he was like, this is how you do a head squashing scene with a cantaloupe. When we crushed that kid's head, it was just a cantaloupe. And we're like, that's all you do? And So we bought our own cantaloupe, and we made some projects for drama class. We read Lloyd Kaufman's book, All I Need to Know About Filmmaking. I learned from the Toxic Avenger just to make them super bloody and gross. Right. And we just kind of kept that Troma sensibility up in all of our like shorts that we were doing until there was a call on the Troma website that the Toxic Avenger was turning 21. And they were looking for fan responses for Toxie.
So I remember, they had the contest for the Toxic Avenger's birthday to be on the DVD or something. They wanted fan films to be made, so we couldn't think of anything. I played the accordion for some reason, so we thought it'd be funny if I played.
Well, I think you played the accordion because at that point you're like, I know how to get chicks. I love Troma movies and Weird Al. So
yeah. So why not pick up the accordion and Yeah, it's definitely gotten me laid a few times. Not really. Anyway, um, so anyway, we thought it'd be funny if we put together the Toxic Avenger theme song on accordion, right? And
Yeah.
we filmed it, and sure enough, the the Troma people loved it. They thought it was great, and we couldn't believe that we were on a DVD, the 21st anniversary edition of the Toxic Avenger.
It's also kind of funny because I have a German DVD of the Toxic Avenger, and they also put the music video on there as well, which is pretty funny. So
yeah, that's nuts that we're a very young me and you as the Toxic Crusader, I believe.
yeah, so I had a Toxic Crusader mask, and I like run around, and we ran around like outside Columbine High School, like.
Yeah, no, we did. We really did. We went outside of Columbine High School and took a picture of you as Toxie in front of the school, which Lloyd thought was amazing, and he kept calling us the Columbine shooters.
Well, because in Toxic Avenger Part 4, they make fun of the Columbine shooters, so we're like, we have to have Toxie outside of the real Columbine.
Well, we only live down the street from the school, the real school.
So we did that, and then maybe like 2 or 3 years later, there's another call on the Troma website, and it was to go work on Lloyd Kaufman's newest movie, Poultrygeist. Attack of the Chicken Zombies, it was called at that time, but now it's Poultrygeist Night of the Chicken Dead.
That's a better title.
Right. I've grown to like Night of the Chicken Dead, but yeah, so we flew into Buffalo, New York, right?
Yeah, I remember we didn't know where that exactly was when we were kids. We're like, where the fuck is Buffalo, New York?
All we knew is Niagara Falls was nearby. And then we lived in an abandoned church, and they remembered our Toxic Avenger music video that we made.
Yeah, I remember meeting Gabe Friedman for the first time, and he was like, you guys did a really good job on that. And I thought it was really, that was a good rememberable moment for me as a young, inspiring filmmaker, because it was somebody I looked up to telling me I was good. So it was right. It was really awesome to meet your heroes. So who weren't dicks.
Right. So yeah, Gabe remembered that Gabe wrote Poultrygeist, and he edited several Troma movies and wrote plenty. But he remembered also in that music video that we did head crushing, all fake cantaloupe with fake blood. Yeah. We ran over a head with the car, and they asked if we wanted to be blood boys on Poultrygeist.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing moment, and we were like, because we went out there as just production assistants.
I was mopping the abandoned McDonald's before that. I was like, this kind of sucks, but I'm working on a Troma movie.
Yeah, so we were like, of course we want to be the blood boys. All right, cool. We get to be responsible for all the blood making in the movie and for shooting out the blood. And so
I kind of feel like we were other than like the special effects guys on the crew, like of the crew members, like the blood boys were rock stars. We should also, just in case if they listen to it, Kevin Barnes and Kyle Frieden, like they were our other two blood boys on there. And
I can't forget those guys. So you're right. We kind of did have rock star status immediately as we got on set. So it was just cool to go to a far off place like Buffalo, New York, and just be like instantly accepted. So it's like going to camp, except the camp experience was
like filmmaking positive. Boot camp. Like we learned so much making that,
and we behaved ourselves a lot. So like, we watched a lot of people come and go and badmouth Troma, and I'm sure this happens on every Troma movie. Where people come and go, but we saw a lot of people come and go, and it was just cool because we were like almost like instantly one of the senior employees of the crew.
Because we were there for a week before.
Because one of the qualifications to work on the movie was to watch a lot of the behind the scenes, like Farts of Darkness and stuff like that, and so. We had religiously watched those movies, so we knew exactly what to expect. So nothing really surprised us when like Lloyd had a meltdown or things weren't going the right way. Me and Zach seemed to handle it pretty okay. We knew it was coming, so
Yeah.
we were expecting it.
Like there's a scene in Poultrygeist where the big fat man starts shitting all over the place. Joe Flyshaker, rest in peace. And
Right.
Lloyd was pissed about the size of Baby Ruth bars. He's like, "You fucker went to Columbine. You should know better what type of shit to put in these bathrooms."
Anyway,
But so we learned so much from that. We went back to Colorado,
right.
and we made a couple films. We made one called Unicorn, which Troma put out, and one called The Misled Romance of Cannibal Girl and Incest Boy. And both
Right.
of those,
So yeah, we made a bunch of these short films, which we got to be part of the Troma Dance Film Festival, which we also went out and helped out on crew lives.
Yeah, it's in Park
Salt Lake
City, Utah. And
in Park City, Utah. Sorry. Yep.
it was the kind of the counter programming of Sundance, the anti-Sundance. Like, we were the punk rock filmmakers in Park City.
Yeah.
So we would go out there, promote our movies, promote Troma. You know, it was a lot nicer conditions than Poultrygeist. We were living in like a ski condo and like having real food, and we were allowed to have alcohol. And
it was an upgrade.
so we are there in the trenches helping Troma again. And we thought, what better way to help Troma than to have Troma Palooza concerts in Denver, Colorado. We would throw benefit concerts for Troma out here to raise money for the Troma Dance Film Festival, where we would have punk rock, metal bands, and then we would then show different Troma movies. And that got us kind of known in the Colorado scene as the Troma guys, with all of these Troma Palooza concerts. So we used that momentum to make our first feature film, Adam the Amazing Zombie Killer, which some people say is a love letter to Troma. Do you want to tell people real quick about Adam?
So yeah, it's our first and only feature film at this point that I know of. And yeah, love letter to Troma. I mean, we really we learned everything we know about filmmaking from the Toxic Avenger and from Troma. So we took all that we knew and had learned and applied it to our very own movie. And the result was a movie where we basically, it's an excuse to do special effects and just have blood and guts and gore and boobs.
It'd just be basically our love letter to Troma movies.
It's on YouTube. You can check it out. It's Adam the Amazing Zombie Killer with
ATOM.
ATOM.
I have DVDs for sale. Check out the link in the description.
I don't know where you want to go now.
Yeah, well, I think that's, kind of sums up, like, and then fast forward through the apocalypse, and we're recording a podcast about Troma movies. So,
right.
I mean, but yeah, like, pretty much through our entire lives, like, Troma's just played such a huge part. So, we
very true.
Talk about them.
Very true.
So
what better thing to do right now than just sit around talking about Troma movies, because it is the first,
they're the movies of the future.
Yeah, and it's kind of our first love, and we really did learn a lot from Troma and Lloyd Kaufman and everybody on the Troma team. So hopefully you guys realize that we're coming from a place of love and we do know what we're talking about. And especially you, Zach. I mean, you're the one who got me into Troma, and you're the one who got me into really filmmaking in general. So I mean, you're just you're a vessel of memories. So you remember things I don't. And
I'm glad you like my vessel, Mr. T.
Yeah, I love your vessel.
Well,
I'm just trying to let the viewers know that we're passionate about Troma, and we come from a place of love, and we know what
they're listeners. It's a podcast. They can't see anything. They're probably driving to work.
Oh, right. I'm so used to everybody seeing my beautiful face on camera. Anyway.
Well, so on that note, we should talk about the very first movie for the Talkin Troma podcast.
All right, cool.
So what we do on this podcast is we'll discuss a Troma movie, we'll play the trailer, and then we will both come up with a movie to pair it with for our fantasy double feature. But the first movie is from 1988. It is directed by Emmanuel Curvin, Rabid Grannies. Let's watch.
Grandma, what big eyes you have. Grandma, what big teeth you have. Grandma, what a big mouth you have. Oh, goody goody, we're taking a trip to Granny's house. She and her sister are having a birthday party. Isn't that nice?
Perhaps it is time to open up our presents.
But be careful, because someone has sent these two sweet old ladies a very nasty present. And now, these grannies have gone berserk. So you better not eat your chicken soup.
At least they're enjoying themselves this year.
Rabid Grannies.
They don't exist. They exist.
They're not just grannies, they're party animals, ready to get down. Get funky, get wasted. Rabid Grannies. Granny serving up something special for dinner. You. Rabid Grannies from Troma.
That was the trailer for Rabid Grannies. So Lloyd Kaufman wrote this from his book, For All I Need to Know About Filmmaking, I Learned from the Toxic Avenger. They love their grandchildren. Well done. Another important Troma social statement, this time on the difficult plight of the elderly. We old ladies unite and grow fangs to take their revenge on society. A truly good film with spectacular special effects and tons of gore that will make you scream and beg for mercy. So I think first off, when we're talking about Rabid Grannies, we need to address the elephant in the room. They're not grannies, they're aunts, and they're not rabid, they're possessed. A better title would have been Demonic Aunties.
And they're party animals.
They're party animals. So what'd you think
you're
of the movie?
you're absolutely right. I guess I didn't even think about that. They're totally ants. Demonic aunties.
I mean, they're old ladies, so I guess that's where the grannies came from, and they do drool a lot, so maybe they're thinking like rabid, but they're just demonic aunties.
Rabid Grannies is just
It's a
better
title.
B-movie title, like Nympho Barbarian and Dinosaur Hell. It's just a catchier title, I think. So clearly that's why they went with that title.
Yeah.
What did I think of the movie?
Yeah, what'd you think of the movie?
So I remember watching the film in high school when we were getting into Troma, and I remember, the trailer was the best part of the film. I don't remember any of the moments from the trailer being in the movie. It was so boring. But the cut you had me watch last night was actually pretty good. So what the hell happened?
All right, so when we watched it in high school, Troma put out a cut on VHS, Laserdisc, and DVD that had all of the gore cut out for some reason. There is a version that's on YouTube where somebody spliced in all the gore back into the movie. I'll talk a little bit later. I'll talk about all the different versions, but there is a version that is the way to watch it that has all of the gore cut into the uncut movie, because there's another version in there that has all of the gore, but it's unrated. I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh wow. Anyway, the version I watched last night was actually fun and like tolerable. I could actually watch the movie, and there was payoff, I guess you could say, because the movie is very stop and go. It's very talkative, and there's not a lot that's going on. And it's like once they become Rabid Grannies, it's like I want to see some fucking blood and gore. But it's like,
yeah, no, I when I watched it again for this, I actually watched the Troma cut with all the gore cut out, and then I went and watched the other version. And I actually did like the Troma cut, although it's definitely not as good with all the gore, because it's really cut out for no reason. But I don't think I appreciated it in high school, because the score, like, you start out, before they turn into Rabid Grannies, it's almost 40 minutes before they turn into Rabid Grannies. So it's a enormous cast. Here, let me tell you all the people who are in this movie. There's a priest. There's a fat guy with a mustache. He's a condom salesman. He kind of looks like Mr. Crusoe from Monty Python, and his wife. There is 2 parents and 2 kids. There's an old maid. There is a douchey cousin named Roger. There's a butler, a maid, a cook, a lesbian couple, the 2 Rabid Grannies, and a witch for one scene. So it's just
and a partridge in a pear tree,
right? It's just too much to keep up with, and nobody in that movie spoke English. They were all dubbed. So
yeah, I was wondering why everyone seemed like they were dubbed, even though they look like they're talking English. It's very off. It's very what do you like, uncanny valley feeling.
So I guess they the director said he wanted the movie to be in English so he could sell it to America.
Right.
So he wrote the script in I think Finnish, and had somebody translate the movie. And it took him like 2 weeks to translate it, and everybody on the cast learned the lines phonetically, so they had no idea what they were saying. The only person in the movie who spoke English was the butler,
Radu.
And funny enough, he's like the best to watch in the movie, because you can kind of tell what he's saying. But they went back and they dubbed everybody over with like an actor, so like the lines definitely have like emotion and feeling, but it's just a little off, except for Radu, who dubbed himself over. So
right. Yeah, I think Radu was actually the best part of the movie. Just because I could understand him. When I watched the movie, I had auto-generated subtitles on YouTube, just so it would maybe try to help me just kind of translate what they were saying. It did not do a very good job at times. It was just like, I tried to write down some of the translations it came up with. It was pretty funny and comical. Sometimes it just like gave up. It just was like, I don't know what they're saying. I have no idea what they're saying. So it's hard to hear what they're saying half of the time of the movie.
So I guess the plot of Rabid Grannies, if you will, it's these two aunties' birthday, and they have an enormous family, as you just heard, of really shitty people who all come to their castle, which was a real castle, by the way, and apparently they filmed it in the winter, so they're like, you can't heat a castle, so everybody is really cold. But anyways, they all go to this castle, and they're just trying to get their inheritance and waiting for the grannies to die. So one of the nephews, who isn't in the movie, God forbid, sent a gift by this creepy looking witch. It was like a shitty looking wooden box, and gives it, the Rabid Grannies get it, they open it up, and as they open it up, somebody in the cast is singing Green Sleeves for some reason, and smoke comes out, and they turn into Rabid Grannies. And then
Rabid Grannies, I'm going to
pinch your cheeks.
And then, so then the grannies just go on a killing spree of all these terrible people in the house, and you're kind of rooting for the grannies because there's nobody, like, maybe the kids are the most likable people, but there's not a single likable person in this entire movie.
True, and you're making it sound a lot, more entertaining than it kind of was.
There's a lot of hiding in rooms and them, like, talking about.
So stop and go. It's like, okay, once the grannies, there's so much buildup to when the Rabid Grannies come, and at that point, it's just like, all right, let's go. Let's just carnage after carnage, but no, it's just like, here's a special effect, and then 10 minutes of just nothing but talking and hiding.
Right.
And then here's another kill scene, and then another 10 minutes of just hiding and talking. It's just hiding and talking.
But there's some good stuff. So I actually have a clip of the producer, James Desert, talking about one of the harder scenes to film, which was this gigantic arm going across the dinner table, and just kind of how hard that was to film.
Most difficult scene to shoot was definitely the place where they are all sitting at the dining table with a long arm. First and all the actors were of the cast had to be there, so it was it took a lot of time to have everything right for the long arm to get it into movement and so on. That was definitely the most difficult scene to shoot.
Well, another thing I thought was kind of creepy. There's a couple kids in the movie, but there's like a scene where one of the grannies lures the little girl into the room. And I think, like, just standalone horror movie scene, like when this like creepy granny sitting in like this, it's like a children's room, but all these toys are like just dilapidated and strewn all over the place. And she's talking to this little girl. She's like, "Come over here. I want to pinch your cheeks." And then it's actually kind of unsettling. You're like, oh shit, I think she's going to kill this little girl. And then sure enough, she does. She cuts her.
Well, and that was the best part of the movie. And they show the little girl, her legs are like ripped off, and they show the gore. And I can't think of another movie where they show kids and gore, Beware Children at Play, but that we can talk about that later. But no, what a cool image. It's like, I just want to take a screen grab of that screen, that shot in the movie, just because it's cool to see a kid with, no legs and some kids with gore. It's different. Yeah, you don't see that in a lot of movies. So it's cool to actually see a kid die in a movie, I guess,
Another thing that I thought was kind of neat was just how different, like you could tell that those Rabid Grannies were not the 80-year-old women. It was like a couple young dudes and rubber monster students.
Yeah, you could definitely tell. Especially in one of the scenes where the priest dies, there's a lot of talking between the grannies. For some reason, they don't talk a lot, but for some reason, let's just stop the movie and have them have a discussion with a priest and talk.
That's kind of a cool idea for a scene, though. Like, it could have been a little bit shorter, but having these demonic, grannies or demonic aunties, so these Rabid Grannies trying to convince this priest to kill himself was kind of good.
It was. I thought it was the stupider part. I thought it was kind of stupid. I just didn't buy it, and the effect that there was no payoff. It was just kind of off screen, like.
So, what was one of your favorite effects in the movie?
Favorite effect? Well, I think I kind of mentioned. One of my favorite effects was definitely the little girl's legs being chopped off. Just because, you don't see kids in gore too often. Very first time we see the Rabid Grannies is clearly when they put a lot of effort into the special effects. Her head kind of
splitting off.
Looks like Terrence and Phillip a little bit.
I thought so too.
Anyway,
I like that part in the sewer where the hand kind of pops out of the water. It almost looks like something from like Jaws' fin coming out, but it's like this demon hand coming across.
I can just picture the filmmakers like, oh, let's just take the hand and put it in the shot, and there you go. That's the Rabid Granny. We don't need the actual actors. Just grab the hand. Just grab the rubber hand.
Like apparently that water was like pretty gross. Like it's like there's like there is no draining and swimming in pool in the castle, so that is 100-year-old gross water.
Wow, that's really crazy to think. Like you just think everything's a set nowadays, but
that's
no,
all
shooting is crazy. Like that makes you appreciate it a little more.
Right. And so there's like a scene where one of the Rabid Grannies jumps out of a Bach painting, and it's like an actual, like they had somebody do a reproduction, but like they went through the time of doing that, like of painting a, like it looks pretty authentic to the castle. So that's that's
a cool moment when she pops out of the painting. Yeah, that was a cool moment. Although I swear the painting is back in unripped in another scene.
Oh, really?
After, yeah, I'm like,
I bet it is. I bet they took it down and filmed that shot, and they were like, "Well, we can't fuck up the real painting." So
yeah, because it could be a different painting, but yeah, there's another painting. I'm like, didn't she just jump out of that painting? But anyway, putting much too much thought into this.
Well, and for all you Troma fans, you know that one of the staples of Troma is nudity, and there is a boob in the movie. Right?
One boob. I believe I saw one boob, and I got real excited. And I was like, "Oh, here comes a boob! Here comes a boob!" And it was just okay. It was okay.
So apparently, the director did not want to have that scene in at all. The people financing the movie, they told him that you need nudity to sell the movie, which is totally true. You definitely do need nudity to sell movies. Or a movie called Rabid Grannies for sure. But that scene makes absolutely no sense. So if you think of it in the context of the movie, there's like this douchebag who's just a complete just ass to everybody. And he's harassing this lesbian couple. And so he like gets one of the lesbians by herself and then's like, I'm such a douche and let's fuck, basically. And then and then they do, but it really doesn't make sense. It's like, why are they having sex? Like, she hates him, and even the director in the commentary, he's like, this scene makes no sense.
No, and it makes no sense because she's a lesbian for half of the movie, isn't she?
I think she is for the whole movie except for that scene, which makes it confusing.
It doesn't make any sense. And then the whole time they're like, you're a lesbian. You're like haunting her, like calling her a lesbian for some reason. I just didn't pick up on where they were going with that.
That sex scene is never brought up again through the entire movie.
No,
their relationship is never brought up again. But there is a boob.
You could probably cut this movie and make like a 20-minute cut.
So there is a different cut of the movie with all the gore in, but that sex scene is cut out. They cut that whole sex. So there, I have a German DVD of the movie, which is the Troma cut, which is like 80 minutes. And then there is the German producer's cut, which has all the gore back in it, but that one sex scene removes. And that one's 77 minutes. But somebody on the internet cut in all the gore, and that version is an hour and a half. So that's, I think, the version you should watch, I think.
Yeah, totally. Hard to keep track of how many versions there are of this movie.
Well, and so there's a Blu-ray that's out, and supposedly that version is on the Blu-ray, but I don't own the Blu-ray, so I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure that it's the producer's cut and not the full version with the nudity and all the gore. So, the director, Emmanuel Curvin, I like in the commentary, he kept talking about doing another movie. But I can only find that he did this one movie and he acted in Kickboxer 2. So that's kind of funny.
Interesting. Weird.
And then, right? Well, but the producer, James Desert, who I played a few clips from, and I'll play another clip coming up. He produced a bunch of Troma movies. He produced Maniac Nurses Find Ecstasy, State of Mind, Parts of the Family, and he I don't know what's happening now, but he was working on Rabid Grannies 2, and there's like a teaser trailer out there, which is just very, very teaser. It's like a shot of the castle and then some demonic laughing. But real quick, yeah, let's listen to the clip of James talking about. It's kind of interesting. There's the James Desert's version of how Troma got this movie and how they made it, and then Lloyd Kaufman's version of how they got the movie made. So I'm going to play those clips kind of back to back because it's kind of funny and interesting.
Cool.
So let's listen.
Emmanuel Kervan came up with the idea for Rabid Grannies, but initially it all started back in the office of VDS Films, a Brussels distributor. That guy over there had asked us to do all the preparations, pre-production for an action film called Talkin. But one day when everything was finished and shooting had to start, it seems that the guy didn't have no money to start the production or to continue the production. So we were there sitting with a whole infrastructure, a whole machinery that was had been started. Emmanuel came up and he said, I still have that idea for a horror movie. Why don't we start this instead of doing this action film? And so Rabid Grannies was born.
You fans may be interested to know, how did Troma get involved with such a masterpiece like Rabid Grannies? The answer is quite simple. About 15 years ago, 2 Belgian citizens, the guys who made Rabid Grannies, wrote to us. They sent us a 2-page synopsis. In their letter, these Belgian guys said, "Dear Troma, we grew up on Troma movies. We love Troma. We want to make a European Troma movie. Would you guys at Troma be interested in distributing such a movie?" Michael Hers read the synopsis and instantly knew that Emmanuel Kervan and Mr. Desert were geniuses. He wrote back saying, "If you boys make this movie, not only will we distribute the movie, but we will give you guys in Belgium a huge 79-cent advance guaranteed to distribute the movie." Emmanuel Kervan and James Desert made Rabid Grannies. It was sent to us. We distributed it. It was a masterpiece, and the rest is history. Rabid Grannies is the very first Belgian film not subsidized or financed by the Belgian government. Most movies in Europe are government subsidized, as you know. No one will subsidize a Troma movie, so the guys in Belgium actually went out to Belgium dentists and raised the money to make Rabid Grannies. So Rabid Grannies is a historic film.
I didn't know Troma. Actually, we had a little advertisement in the Hollywood Reporter, and saying that we were about to shoot this movie called Rabid Grannies. And one day, an afternoon, I received a phone call from the head of acquisitions. Later on, he mailed me a package of all sorts of information regarding Troma, and like this, the collaboration started. And well, it was quite fun to work with these guys.
So that was that. So real quick on the DVD, there on the Troma DVD, a very young filmmaker, Joe Lynch, who directed Mayhem and Knights of Badassdom and is in Holliston and Wrong Turn 2. He used to work at Troma, and he does an interview with a rabid granny on the DVD. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, so, well, let's wrap up our talk on Rabid Grannies before we get to our picks. Any final thoughts? Any other things you want to talk about on Rabid Grannies?
Wow, that's smashing.
That's smashing.
That's all. That's all I can say.
Yeah, there's like a little kid, and I think he only has like 2 lines, and it's "that's smashing."
Yeah. Wow, that's smashing. Yeah,
that's smashing.
That was my favorite line in the whole movie. And there was a few other lines in the movie that I liked. Slapstick cream pies.
I did laugh at that line. I don't remember why they say that, but yeah, I giggled.
I don't know what. Well, she's got the box, and she's like talking to the box, and for some reason she's like, all these slapstick cream pies. And I told you that I had the auto-generated subtitles on, and it actually censored the line cream pies because it thought it was saying something dirty.
That would make it a very different movie, I think.
Yeah. Oh, another good line from the movie was Radu, bring the knife for the cake. Radu.
They say that for like 5 minutes.
For the cake. Radu, bring the knife for the cake. Yeah, it goes on forever and ever. And it's like, what are they saying? I think they're saying Radu, bring the knife for the cake. I have no idea. And I don't know why it goes on forever and ever.
I thought it was really funny for just whatever reason. Like the big fat guy was a condom salesman. Like,
oh, see, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm a condom salesman.
Yeah, I liked his ass getting eaten out. That was
a cool effect. Which in the Troma version, you're like, I guess he died, but you have no idea how. But it's pretty. They like rip his skin off. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, there was ultimately the version we saw that's on YouTube that you sent me is the version to watch. Definitely.
I think so. Yeah. Check it out if you get a chance. It's also the Troma cut versions on the Troma Now streaming site. There's DVDs and Blu-rays and
I thought the credit music was pretty sweet too. It's like, all right, how do we end this movie? Let's have some rock and roll. It's like, where did that come from?
And like really stuffy classical music for pretty much the whole score.
Nothing is consistent about this movie. And then, like, how did it end? I didn't understand the ending. Do you understand the ending?
Yeah, so
she had just stopped everything from stabbing this box with a crucifix, and then she becomes possessed.
Well, because she inhaled some smoke from the box, and you should keep in mind too, it was the kind of the old maid riding the bicycle at the beginning with the one who's not in a relationship at all, kind of signaling she's gonna be an old biddy rabid granny when she gets older.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Again, there's just too many characters to keep up.
There's too many. But all right, cool. Well, let's go on to the pairings now. Our double feature section. So the film I chose for my fantasy double feature is a 2011 film by Adam Wingard. You're Next.
I just want you all to know how much it means to us that you're all here.
Thanks to Mom and Dad.
Beautiful.
Just a perfect day.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for Thy food and help us to do our part with kind words and loving deeds.
Amen.
Amen. Gets dark, we go home. What is that?
Get away from the window! What is happening?
I don't see anyone.
Why would anybody do this? They've been watching us for days. This wasn't a random attack. Oh, it's such a perfect day. I'm glad I spent it with you. Oh, such a perfect day. You just keep me hanging on. You just keep me.
All right, so that was my pick, You're Next. The reason I picked this movie for my double feature is because it's about a whole bunch of unlikable characters. You just hate this entire family. There's way too many characters. They get together at a house for a party, and then they start getting picked off one by one in this giant mansion. So, yeah. Have you ever seen this movie, Richard?
No. Well, actually, maybe a long time ago. I think I vaguely remember some of the imagery, like of them wearing animal heads and killing people. But other than that, I don't really remember too much about it.
Yeah, they look like the Wyatt family from WWE. The gore in that movie is pretty awesome. One of my favorite death scenes in the movie is somebody has an axe and uses it like a golf club on somebody's head.
Cool.
And then
check it out.
Yeah, the director, he did like the VHS movies, Blair Witch, Death Note, which is kind of cool. Tons of nudity in this movie. And another fun thing is there's a lot of filmmaker cameos. There's a character who plays a filmmaker is played by Ty West, one of the writer of the movie, Simon Barrett. He's a mass killer. And then Larry Fessenden, who does a bunch of crazy like kind of horror cult movies, he dies at the beginning of the movie. So yeah, I think that'd be a fun. That's my pick for a double feature. What about you? What about yours, Mr. Taylor?
Well, I had to really think about this hard, because what better movie could go with Rabid Grannies than the classic Peter Jackson film Dead Alive?
On this picturesque block, in this manicured home, something evil, something terrifying, something horrifying is haunting Lionel. His mother,
I thought I told you to spray this house. The place is infested with vermin.
although she was a little strict,
Look at this dust. It's an inch thick.
he never wished her any harm
You look after me.
until
Your mother's dead, Lionel.
now, whatever Mom's got
Who's your mother?
has caught on with the neighbors.
She's been bitten! You know what that means?
You can pray.
I kick ass for the Lord!
You can plead. You can beg for mercy.
Help! Someone! Please!
But nothing you can do will stop.
There's thousands of them!
Because how do you kill something that's already dead? Trimark Pictures presents a modern masterpiece of horror.
Your mother ate my dog!
Dead Alive.
Party's over.
I think that would go really well with Rabid Grannies. It's got, a lot of people in the movie that you can hardly understand.
They actually all look like they're dubbed over as well in that movie.
And you have an older woman who basically gets possessed by a monkey. Well, she gets bit by a monkey or something, a rat monkey. And she starts going nuts and crazy. And I guess it's more of zombies than possession, but it's really on the same lines. And there obviously Dead Alive is more known, and the gore is way more over the top and top notch. But again, it's just I think it would be a good pairing with this movie, just because you've got people you can't understand, and you got an older lady who goes nuts and crazy, and it just kind of I think it would make sense.
And you got a big party too.
And there's a big table with a party, and you're right. And at the end of the movie, there's a big party at the it would be it almost seems like they were trying to kind of mimic. I don't know when Dead Alive was made.
Dead Alive came out in 92.
Oh wow! So Rabid Grannies came out before.
Well, and it's entirely possible that because Peter Jackson is a Troma fan, So it's entirely possible he's seen Rabid Grannies.
Yeah, no, totally.
We're gonna call it now. We're gonna say Peter Jackson ripped off Rabid Grannies to make Dead Alive.
So yeah, I guess for a triple feature film, you could do your next Dead Alive and then Rabid Grannies.
So you want to know what I just thought of? Another funny connection for us in Rabid Grannies and Dead Alive. Do you remember the first time we watched Dead Alive?
No.
So one of my friends was like, "You need to see Dead Alive. That movie's fucking crazy." And we went to Blockbuster and we rented it. And the version we got was the R-rated version. We watched it, and those who haven't seen Dead Alive, like, it's over the top, gore a second, like so much blood. And in the R-rated version, they cut it all out, but there's so much gore, it's intertwined with the story, so it just doesn't make sense. And we're like, this movie is fucking bullshit. And we hated Dead Alive the first time we saw it. But then he's like, you watch the R-rated version. Then he loaned us his DVD, and it's like, oh yeah, no, this movie's way better with all the gore in it. Like,
it's almost exactly what happened with Rabid Grannies. It's
exactly.
Like we watched, Rabid Grannies, and there's no gore, boobs, or anything, and then all of a sudden you give me this cut, and it's like, oh well, this is the version we're supposed to be watching. And I also just remember Lloyd Kaufman on set of Poultrygeist Night of the Chicken Dead was like, because we were the Blood Boys, and it's like, you need to make this movie bloodier than Devil. You need to make this movie bloodier than Dead Alive. That's your job. That's all you have to do is make this movie bloodier than Dead Alive. And we tried. I don't think we made. I don't think that's possible.
It's impossible. Like, he's set the bar like way too high.
Yeah, but anyway.
We tried.
It's such an awesome movie, and
do you have a favorite death?
So cool.
Do you have a favorite death in Dead Alive?
Maybe you can
one of my favorite deaths is the zombie gets his head cut in half with garden shears, and then a lawn gnome gets stuffed in there, and then later on in the movie he's getting put through like a laundry press, and then you just see all of his gore and goop shoot out his neck hole with the lawn gnome. Or like when they and then actually that half a head ends up inside of a blender too, which is pretty fun.
That's right. Dude, I haven't watched it in so long that I can't remember. All I can remember is the little baby running around everywhere.
Well, it's been a long time for me too. Like, I want to go back and rewatch that movie, but supposedly Peter Jackson's like working on this like amazing Blu-ray of like Bad Taste and Dead Alive and all of his early stuff. So it's like, I'm just gonna hold out watching that movie until that Blu-ray comes out. So fingers crossed it's sooner than later. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Richard. I'm glad we got to talk about some movies. And
anytime, Zach.
Is there anything you wanted to plug?
Other than the fine young gentleman sitting across from me.
Goodness gracious.
I can't think of one thing I like to plug other than what I'm doing now is a lot of music with my band Bolonium. So probably that.
Cool. Well, check out Bolonium on all the social medias.
Yeah. We're all over the place. So which we make a lot of music videos, and you're in a lot of them, and they're fun. I think a lot of Troma people would like our videos.
There's definitely some Troma influence in some of those videos.
Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, I think people would definitely like them if they checked it out. Bolonium, awesome. Get full of Bolonium.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you, everybody, for listening to the very first episode of Talkin Troma with me, Zack Beins. I'll see you next time, and remember to stay traumatized.
All right, cool.